Current takes the finals. Oh, it's absolute scenes here in the British Pokemon League. Oh my god! Wait! Bonga, baby! No! Fisher lands again! Fisher picks up again!
Yo, what is up my guys? Welcome back to the British Pokemon League show. We are back for week numero 7. Is it going to be 7th heaven for some of our teams this week? We will find out in just a little bit. I want to thank you all again for joining me on this week's show. Very, very exciting. We're on that upward, downward, whichever way, slope towards playoffs now. We are just 4 weeks away, my guys, from ending the season, having that Christmas break, and then we hit playoffs with everything we got. So it's going to be exciting times. Nothing is set in stone yet, although it could be after this week depending on how results go. So absolutely anything could happen yet. But let's take a quick look at our league table before we go into this week's schedule. Still sitting perched atop of the British Pokemon League. It is, of course, Aaron's Inglorious Surfers, still unbeaten on a 6-0 record. Are they going to be stopped this week? We'll certainly find out. Still sitting pretty in second, third and fourth place, of course, South Croydon Saurs, Tyrants and the Space City PC. Those two, the latter, making brilliant starts to the life in the British Pokemon League, and we'll be looking to continue that form in this week's matches. In fifth place, it is the Long Island Goomys, getting themselves back to winning ways against Dogsy, and generally having a much better season than they have been in past few seasons. Silly looking like an absolute force to be reckoned with as of late, and making one hell of a charge towards playoffs, and sitting pretty in 6th place for the first time since week 4 of season 1. It is the Newcastle Thundurus in the top half of the table. Who would have ever thought that after the first 2 weeks? But Dave on an absolute charge at the minute, has got the second best winning streak in the leagues right now, and is looking like a real force to be reckoned with and looking very difficult to stop. In the same breath is the Wobbuffet Ninjas, also on a very similar winning streak, unbeaten in 2 games now, looking very, very strong. But one hell of a tough opponent coming up this week, which we will get to in a little bit. Oh God, my brain just broke in half there. Sat there in 8th place, it is Dogsy's Shadow Kings on a little bit of a downward trajectory after making a pretty solid start to the league. Dogsy will be looking to change his fortunes in this week's matches for sure. And then in the bottom 4, we have got the Scuba Squirtles, Swindon Rookies, Nicer Sidonia, and the California Bastiodons. Those 3 at the bottom there, all on just 1 win and in desperate need of a victory if they want to still have a chance of making playoffs. We've got 5 matches left to go, 4 weeks until the end of the season, so it's still all to play for. None of them are completely out of it yet, but need to make sure they get the wins this week for sure, or it's going to be curtains for their British Pokemon League season and getting any further. Onto the schedule then. We'll be kicking things off this week with an absolute cracker. It is Space City PC taking on Long Island Goomys. So obviously the first time these two have faced off each other, with it being Moom's debut season in the league. So that ought to be an absolute cracker of a game. Both on really good sort of runs of form right now and looking very, very difficult to stop. So keep an eye out for that one. Then next up we have got Dogsy Shadow Kings against California Bastions. Has almost turned into a little bit of a relegation 6-pointer that one, but Dogsy still, has a little bit of a sort of a comfort blanket as far as things go. And Oma without a win in 3 matches, so really needs to get something, a good run of form going, or it's going to be very difficult to come back from. Our third match of the week then, it is the Aaron's Inglorious Surfers taking on the Wobbuffet Ninjas. Not faced each other since season 1, these two, so it's going to be exciting to see how that one turns out. Can the Ninjas become the first team to defeat the Surfers this season. Up next, it is the Scuba Squirtles and Swindon Rookies with their third relegation 6-pointer in a row. Draco just loves a relegation 6-pointer, man. He just loves it. But yeah, so that ought to be a very, very tight match. Good matchup between those two. And I said both really, really needing the victory to try and keep in that fight for that top 8. Then in our second last match of the week, we have got the Newcastle Thundurus versus South Croydon Saurs. Obviously, these two played each other a couple of times last season, so it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out. Can Crizzle put a stop to Dave's very strong form? Or is Crizzle going to get himself back to winning ways after that loss to Aaron last week? And rounding out the week, once again, I saw it. Pua Jabba always seems to be the one rounding out this week, but it is the Nicer Sidonia versus Tyrant at our Tyrants is our final match of week number 7. Jabba really, really needing a win, but it's going to be a very, very tough task against Silver's Tyrant at our Tyrants, who are looking really, really strong this season. But anyway, guys, into our first match of the week. It is, of course, Space City PC versus Long Island Goomys. Both on that 4-2 record, making really, really strong starts this season. So could be a very, very close one. This one, I'm definitely expecting a game 3 of this one. Meme definitely shown that he's not a complete one-trick pony with a bunch of different techs that he's brought this season. And that really showed how strong that Umbreon and Rotom Wash can be. Paired the right way. Umbreon with Moonlight and just sort of full support set. So difficult to stop, and that Rotom Wash with screens. It can be such a handful to deal with. It really shows how much depth that Meme's team does have, and how he's been able to just sort of get the best out of each mon on the team. We've even seen the likes of Lanoon, come this season. So he's got use out of pretty much all 11 of his mons to some degree. So all credit to Meme. He's been playing absolutely phenomenally so far this season. Of course, I would have fully expected the Mega Charizard and Groudon duo to come. And also I would have thought Mienshao as well, just for that fake out support. It's going to be really useful to try and put a stop to that Geomancy or Blastoise with Follow Me. Of course, that does happen. I would fully expect Silly to be going for the double protects on the first turn out, but Meme's got to sort of put that pressure on and force Silly into a move like that. Torjikis as well could be really strong in this matchup with the Follow Me. It kind of matches up relatively well into the Xerneas. Doesn't really have much to sort of take it down, but with that Follow Me support, could be really, really strong. And Mienshao as well, not only the fake out, but also has access to wild card. Silly loves to run the Dazzling Gleam on the Xerneas. Wild card could really put a stop to that. So it might be an option that Meme goes for. Over on Silly's side then, of course, we've just mentioned the Xerneas Blastoise duo. It's always a given that these two are going to come to a match. I don't think we need to get into too much of what they're going to do here. We're very interested to see whether the Mega Lucario makes its debut appearance. It did not come last week against Jabba, but could be in this one. Of course, the Mega Lucario has already faced down Meme's team and was met with Groudon and Mega Charizard quite swiftly. Met at a very quick end. So you never know. Silly is quite a ballsy player, so if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. I would fully expect to see Kamala as well. Kamala is such an awkward one to deal with, and there's only really Mienshao on Meme's side that is going to sort of handily deal with that. I'd be very interested to see something like Kamala paired with Stonjourner, or Stonjourner with that Power Spot ability, just to make Kamala that little bit stronger. That Sleep Talk Last Resort is just absolutely lethal. The only thing it sort of doesn't deal well into is ghost types, and it's otherwise it's just brutal. Of course, it could look to get some speed control up with that Talonflame as well. Those Gale Wings offering that giving them access to sort of priority Tailwind could be an option, and Breloom as well with the likes of that Spore could be useful to try and slow Meme down in this matchup. But I know Silly, he's going to go all guns blazing kamikaze style, so this ought to be a very good one. Let's get into this one. That is Meme Space City PC versus the Long Island Goomys, and Silly is leading the line with that Blastoise Xerneas. He does have Kamala, Oricorio, Empoleon and Talonflame in the back. Meme kicks things off on the Mienshao, and the Torjikis has the Mega Charizard, Groudon, Rotom Wash, and the Dusknoir in the back, so no Umbreon this week. Totally expect that, it does not match up very well into that Xerneas whatsoever, so that's fair enough, and Silly is going to lead this off with a double attack, obviously expecting that fake out from the Mienshao, which does come out. And there's the Psycho from the Torjikis, so that's really interesting. That's so Meme, that Psycho, it copies the opponent's Pokemon, so Meme trying to get the Geomancy stats copied for that Torjikis. He even make himself a bulky Torjikis. Of course, Torjikis does also have Baton Pass that could go up on. There's the follow me from the Blastoise. Rockslide does come out from the end shell. So of course trying to go for the the spread moves, trying to get this flip. It doesn't come off. Geomancy does go Psycho. Obviously hits Blastoise. Blastoise, stat boost isn't going to gain anything from it. So nice try there from a very nice tech as follow comes out from the Torjikis. There is of course the Dazzling Gleam. It's going to take the intro down with Sash and does some very good damage to Torjikis, and there's the Poison Jam into that Blastoise. No poison hitting out into the Blastoise either, and Blastoise with over half HP just comfortably living there. So there's the follow me again from the Blastoise, and there's the Dazzling Gleam. It's going to take up both the intro and the Torjikis. A great start here on turn number 4 for Silly, as now Groudon and the Rotom Wash come into play for Memes. This is a phenomenal start here from Silly, absolutely all guns blazing. There's the follow me again. Dazzling Gleam's going to hit that, get some really good damage. The Rotom Wash is going to proc the Citrus Berry, get some down back, and there's the Electro Web. Try and slow the Zen and Blastoise down. I don't think it's going to do enough. There's the Precipice Blades. The double hit takes out the Blastoise and gets some very good damage to Zen. So the spread moves, are the weakness to this sort of Blastoise Xerneas sort of duo, and Meme is fully taking advantage of that and gets one down. So it is a 2v3 now. He's back within a chance if he can get rid of that Xerneas, he could be in a very, very good position. It is Oricorio. Literally, but the Dazzling Gleam is going to take up both Groudon and Rotom Wash, and Silly takes the lead in this match early on in 10, number 6. Just absolutely brutal there. Xerneas getting all 4 kills there, and Meme switching things up, going for the Dusknoir and the Yanchow, and Silly sticking to his guns, keeping that Blastoise and Xerneas. The first on the Dusknoir is going to find the Rainbow Berry and of course the Power Head on the Zen. So getting some good information for what's on the Blastoise. There is the double protect as expected, just to block that fake out. That is going to allow the Dusknoir to go for a Trick Room, and that's the only issue up against that sort of setup. We saw this earlier against the Ninjas, what sort of threat that can be. And then you stop the fake out, sure, but then you allow the Dusknoir or any Trick Room setter to go and get speed control up, and now Zen's in a bit of a spot as it can still go for Geomancy but puts itself well at risk. His follow me comes out from the Blastoise. There is the Rock Slide from the Dusknoir. It does get the flinch on the Xerneas as well, and the Rock Slide as well from the Mienshao, getting a little bit more damage. So no Geomancy going with the Xerneas, and we're down to 3 times a Trick Room. So maybe switching things up and seems to be working. So how Blastoise is going to switch out as in comes Empoleon. There is the Rock Slide again from the Dusknoir, just trying to get the split moves off, and goes for the Dazzling Gleam. It's going to take Mienshao down with Sasha. No Geomancy this time around, and Xerneas now down to below half HP, and of course that Empoleon is going to resist those rock type attacks. So could switch in there from Silly, but doesn't look to be going for that Geomancy for Xerneas, just trying to get the damage off as he does protect. There's the Rock Slide into the Empoleon, could get the very important flinch. There's the Scald. Is it going to get the burn on the Dusknoir? It doesn't. There's the close comeback from the Mienshao, and that takes out the Empoleon. Does drop the Mienshau's defenses, but does get rid of that Empoleon. Now in comes the Blastoise with one more turn of Trick Room. This could be where Silly, goes for that Geomancy, and now Trick Room is gone, but he's got to deal with that Dusknoir all the same. Could go for yet another Trick Room here once that Trick Room ends, although I would have thought Zen's Dazzling Gleam would be enough to take it out. There's the fake out from the Blastoise. That's going to take out the Mienshao, and Gravity comes out from the Dusknoir, and the Xerneas does get his Geomancy up. And now in comes the Groudon. Now Groudon, we do know, has this Precipice Blade. Not the most accurate move, so Silly will be hoping to try and hoping for one of those to miss, just to keep a Xerneas on for a little bit longer. But the Trick Room has ended, so Xerneas has that speed control, can at least maybe get one of those 2 ones there. As it does take out the Dusknoir, it takes Groudon down to half HP. There's the Rain Dance and the Precipice Blades. It's going to take out the Xerneas, and Blastoise only just hanging on range, though, allowing its HP to regenerate just a little bit. So Rain is up, so no fire attacks are going to be useful here. Oricorio Electric does bounce into the field, but Gravity is up, so that's terrible news for Oricorio. So me making a very, very good prediction now. There's the protect. Hurricane comes out from the Oricorio. It's not going to do enough to Groudon, but does get the confusion. There's the Electro Web. That is going to get some good damage to Oricorio, does drop its speed. There's the Precipice Blades, and it's going to take Oricorio out thanks to that Gravity. So yes, what a great play there from me. Just to, you could see that Oricorio is coming in the back, makes a great read there, and allows the Groudon to take it out. Groudon luckily not getting confused there and hitting itself. That would have been not so great for me. Takeout is obviously going to fail on Blastoise, as Silly knows he's beaten in this one, and Meme's going to tie us all up at 1 apiece. What a phenomenal battle to kick things off of the show this week, guys. Really, really, Silly patiently waiting to get the Geomancy up and playing, not different with sort of usual style. They're used to the sort of kamikaze all-out attack style that we see from Silly a lot, but just sort of played it slowly there, waiting for the trick room to end, and was able to just wait it out and almost won it there. Unfortunately, the precipice plays are landing from the ground on. Unfortunately for Silly, not so much unfortunately for Meme. So Silly keeping with the Zen Blastoise, and Meme switching up again. He's gone for the Duskmart and the Raw on Wash this time. First off, Risk is going to reveal those items, so Meme's already well aware of that. Doesn't need that information again, but it's always useful. There's the fake out from the Blastoise. As a Geomancy is going to go up, and Duskmart's going to go for its Trick Room. Then you would have thought, and there it is. There is the Trick Room. So now Xerneas does at least have his Geomancy up, but there is an Electro, and the haze comes out from the Duskmart. That is huge. Light Screen just go from the Raw and Wash as well, so that is perfect stuff there from Meme. Great move choice on the Duskmart, got the speed control up, and that allowed him to reset the stats of Zen, and now Zen cannot comfortably go for a Geomancy again. Gravity comes out from that Duskmart, and it's in the Blastoise in there, and another dazzling group. That Light Screen from the Rotom Mush really helping him out, and the Citrus Berry just pop on the Rotom Mush just to get himself back up to full HP. That comes out from the Blastoise. There is the Rock Slide, aiming to get those flinches, snapping along. There's the Thunderbolt though, and another dazzling gleam, slowly chipping away at Duskmart and Rotom Mush's health as he tries desperately to delay that Trick Room, but he's got to get rid of that Duskmart just so he can't get a Trick. But Meme to switch in the Groudon, believing that Trick Room is gonna end and it's gonna give him the speed control. The Blastoise does go down. Rotom Wash just hangs on from that dazzling gleam, and now Groudon's in a great position. Now in comes the Kamala. This is it. It's the legend killer is on the field. This is not good news for me. We saw how much damage Kamala does. Xerneas is going to take out the Rotom Wash. There's the Precipice Blades. Xerneas and Kamala live. Kamala goes to the last resort and it takes out the Groudon. This sleeping bear, my god. Absolutely, that's a third legendary on this thing is killed. And it is now 3v2 as Mienshao switches in the field, is going to get the back got pressure onto either Kamala or Zen. And Protectors come out from that Xerneas. There is the Rock Slide from the Mienshao, and that's going to take out Kamala to tie us up at 2 apiece. One more time of Gravity to go, and it is Empoleon in the back for Silly. So Silly, I think Silly's just kind of got to go for it. He can't sort of afford to play the patient game here because Meme's just going to allow himself to get tripping up. There's the Protect comes out from the Empoleon. Poison Jab is going to take out the Xerneas. And there's the Rock Slide from the Duskmart. This one looks to be potentially over. We've already seen close combat come out from that Mienshao. And we know it's faster than the Empoleon. There it is, and Empoleon gets taken out. And Meme takes game number 3 and wins the match between himself and Silly. What a phenomenal game, guys. Some really, really great techs and great plays in that one. That Gravity play in game 2 was just chef's kiss, by the way. Absolutely great stuff as always. And a really, really close match. Could have went either way. Again, Silly just played it patiently to try and end that Trick Room and almost got away with it. I think playing a little bit too passively at the end there might have hurt him. But I guess he figured that a close combat may come out from that Mienshao and Empoleon. So I could see where he was coming from there. That's not a dig on Silly at all, but GG's to both coaches. That was a really, really fun match to watch. And what a great way to start the show, guys. Anyway, on to our second match of the week then. It is Dogsy's Shadow Kings against the California Bastiodons then. So these two yet to play each other in British Pokemon League action. So Dogsy's been here since season 1. Oma joined us last season, but we're on different sides of the divisions. So a first time matchup, and Oma on that 1-5 record, and really needs to change his fortunes round after the last 3 defeats in a row for Oma. It's not been looking so good for him this season after he made a really solid start at British Pokemon League life last season and ended up finishing 3rd in playoffs. So we'll be looking to get a change in fortunes. And Dogsy, as we mentioned earlier, on a little bit of a downward trajectory after making a really, really solid start, lost the opening week, and then went on a bit of a winning streak, and now has been on a bit of a losing streak. So is going to aim to put an end to that, both aiming to put these bad runs of form to bed with this one. We've seen just the destructive power of that Necrozma on Dogsy's Shadow Kings team, and we've started to see Ditto come out a little bit more and be used a little bit more recently from Dogsy's side, and it's for sure definitely nearly won him a few of the last couple of games. I really thought it was gonna get the job done against Silver last week, but was to no avail thanks to an amazing trick play from that Kali Shadow. Could we see the Lumi's Darkrai strat in this one? The Sweet Scent and allowing Darkrai to set both mons to sleep could be the game for it. We will certainly see. That Mega Kangaskhan as well has been really putting in the work. I think his Dogsy's most brought mon, with that parental bond ability, makes it really, really, if it's got a move that's really strong against its opposition, it makes it really, really tough to deal with, because it's hitting not only once, it is hitting twice. So always got to be careful of that. Whether it matches up brilliantly here in this one, I don't know, thanks to that Airshrew Water being picked up by Oma. Could be a risky one, but Dogsy may look to bring that Gastrodon just to sort of limit what that Airshrew Surging Strikes can do. May look to also get Weather Up as well to bring that Bear Tick in, get the Swift Swim going. So it does have a few options. Obviously, we've spoke a little bit about Oma's weaknesses in the past, so it's going to probably try and look to, take full advantage of those if he's got the right moveset on his mons. Over on Oma's side then, as we already said, did pick up that Surging Strikes, Urshifu, and of course the Bastiodon as well, his mascot Pokemon, but is been just finding it very difficult to make this team work. I think in a draft setting, running an all Psychic Steel team, probably Oma's having a few regrets, I would have thought, at this point. He's not out of it. I say this every week, Oma is a very talented player. He got third last season for a good reason. If anyone was going to make something like this work, it would be Oma. But thus far, it's just not really, it's not really ticked the boxes. This could be the one to get himself back in, though, if he's, if he leads with something like the Water Urshifu, or the Aerodactyl here, it could be really, really good. Try and steer away from using the Metagross and things like the Chandelure that he's tended to bring most weeks, and try and switch things up a bit. It could be the way forward. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's get into this one. Here's the California Bastions taking on Dogsy Shadow Kings, and Dogsy is kicking things off with that Loomies and Darkrai, and Owner kicks things off with the Aerodactyl and the Water Urshifu, so he's indeed switching things up. Dogsy has got the Mega Kangaskhan and Ditto and Bear taking it back, so no Gastrodon here, and Owner with Massive and Chandelure, Mega Metagross, and Comfort in the background, so it does choose to bring the girls in that team 6. We're going to get this team 4, we'll certainly see. The Aerodactyl's possibly going to try and go for a Tailwind, because as the Sweet Scent does come out from the Loomies, there is the Tailwind, and the Drain Punch into the Darkrai takes it out, and Water Urshifu gets its first kill of the season. Darkrai not able to get its tech done, as the Tailwind allows the Water Urshifu to move first, and it's not been enough Drain Punch. Takes his first victim. Ditto is going to switch in just to give him that option of the Water Urshifu is going to match up really well. To get the game over, but I look at that Water Urshifu on the side is going to pass the best of the short haul is not forward, just to try and match up. I don't know whether if it's going to, it would just speed time at that point, or potentially a little chase start who's to know at this point. We'll certainly find out when the time to his Tailwind just come out from a little bit of a rock slide from the Aerodactyl, which gets into the there's the Thunder Punch from Oma's Water, showing the flinch comes out from the rock slide as well, so that's horrible news there for Dogsy. And the Thunder Punch gets some really good damage off there, so some really good move choices from Oma. Seeing that something like the Ditto might come into copy his Water Urshifu, and he takes full advantage of that, so it's a great tech there from Oma. That's the Ditto in the hell of a spot there. He also had a just moving past there through the rock slide. There's this flinch, I don't know whether that Water Urshifu would have it, because he doesn't quite take on the Ditto, so he did just go up from the Loomies. The rock slide, Loomies just hangs on with Ditto, just go down, it has 2 people, and Aerodactyl and Urshifu just running for a drain here, and now in comes the Mega Kangaskhan. Not what he wants to face down with that Water Urshifu, close combat. Dogsy is going to want to move, but now he's open to the Ditto, so it has got some useful information regardless. It's got the Ditto, got some fake out to that slot. There's the Sweet Scent from the other Loomies, if you want to see that, and there's the Drain Punch. Almost takes out the Mega Kangaskhan. Doesn't even need a close combat here. The Drain Punch just getting the job done. And now this one looks all but over this game 1, and Oma's absolutely being on point in this one, and Dogsy's just not being able to get it going. So So it's going to, it is only game one. Obviously, going to try and sort of reset for the second game. Sets up the rain for Oma's aggregate, and there's the rock slide from the Aerodactyl. And Oma takes this first game, then he takes the lead in this match. And Dogsy now with it all to do in the second game. Choose to switch things a bit on maybe choose to keep things the same. Does go for the comfort and Bastard on this time, and Dogsy switching over his comfort in his hand. So what's going on in stage last week against the Rangers. Chooses to run here, but obviously he put some match up really well until I think this guy come there if it's running forward here this time. Can't just keep that basket on sort of nice and healthy. There's the mega from the canvas gun. Tech comes out from the basket, and there's the fake out into the comfort. Gets a critical hit up there as well, so he has a move example. There is the tailwind from the Goomys. So obviously with speaking from the take the top damage there. And basket on stopping any damage via that protect. He's got something like a drain punch here would be really good into that basket on and not really can stand. There's the magnet rise from the Bastiodon, so Bastiodon now immune to ground moves for the next couple of times, and not that there's a whole lot of ground moves running on the side, but interesting tech to say the least. That is one floaty boy. That's the reason we're bringing this one up. There's the forward healing. The Bastiodon is going to get himself back into the keep. The fire punch comes back out. There's a heavy slam into the camera up. So Bastiodon back where it started before that forward healing, and now we just have one tiny tail with left in. Not a whole lot happening in this second game, so a little bit slower and less chaotic this time around. Obviously, Dogsy put all of his eggs in the basket with the dark right there. It just hasn't fire punch in that Aerodactyl is going to resist. It does get some good damage away, and there comes the eruption from the camera up. Is it going to be enough? No, Aerodactyl does come on. That does block the comparison. Dogsy now does know that Aerodactyl is in sash, which is usually what the normal runs on the Aerodactyl, so normal is switching a little bit. The keys to victory in this one. Very well in that Aerodactyl can go for the one side of things. They're going to help Aerodactyl is always going to go first, but as long as Dogsy can get help with that, camera can just be going for eruptions. It's going to get some, while Aerodactyl is going to resist it, it's going to get some good damage off from either way, good spread damage. I think it would be really great if that Comfort is still kicking out, but Oma seeing that might be a problem and switching the Aerodactyl, so making some good smart players there. From the Mega King so on the scanning and out seeing when the rocket keeps his Aerodactyl alive. And then this now comes off for sale and goes, and then he's got to do that really close to do. That's going to just keep setting up around and maybe kind of get out of speed control. The rocket is going to take Aerodactyl out. It does, so first blood this time. The Dogsy gets one down and then he's like, in comes the Shifu surging strikes though. This is where it all went wrong last time for Dogsy. Shifu was putting him all the way, but he does have speed control this time, so he does have that on there, but he can do a whole lot to something to previous times. We saw how much Drain Punch did in game number 1. Can't guess the Mega King's not taking that much damage again. The coach is definitely doing a lot more thinking than this one. I said it's a lot more slow pace this game. Just maybe what you want to see. Kamikaze's always good. It's always good to be saying there's the camera. And Sunday doesn't Drain Punch. Still get some good damage on the camera. Every slam is going to use this about that much. We're good switching there again. Sun goes up plus another one actually. Water attacks to do that one less damage. Which again, you saw how much Drain Punch did that. It's not really in the best position and it doesn't seem to look like Illumis has got too many damaging moves on the side to be able to win the match. It's really camera. Not even the tail with that camera is going slow. Not known for its speed, this camera. Maybe if he's looking at some sleds, there's a speed sent from the Illumis with Drain Punch is going to take out the camera. So Homer is tying things up for a piece. Let's see, I'm getting some good damage away to the Illumis. And comes the bear tick then, so Dogsy could look to switch the weather around here, set up the rain, allow him to go faster. The Bastion in rapidly. If Dogsy focuses that the Bastion down with the electric wide open to an attack from the water and really put it in the spot. Just this kind of all to do at the end of the game. So I really can't really concerned what is on the guy. The rain down to liquidation into the airship room. It's going to do not much at all. That turn is just going to take the better than the Sash and airship is back to full health. Counter is going to fail on the Bastion, so I'm expecting the attack. That would have worked better there, but the Drain Punch just doing so much down. The Athletics now in a hell of a spot. Sash is the service that comes in there. This guy Aperture going to take out the bear to go around. That was from the Bastion now, and it's up to Illumis and Mega Kanga. The rain is all set up for the airship room. This is just looking really good for Roman to get his first win on the board since week number 2. 5 weeks without a win. And Dogsy's losing run carries on. There's the fake up on the Mega Kanga. So can I allow the Illumis to go? Yeah, let's speed it. That is going to come out from the project. Bastion's been sat there since turn 1, by the way, just menacingly staring. There's the fire punch into the it's not really where it looks like. There's the Drain Punch. Mega Kanga's down just about hang on as this one takes the Illumis down the library and going to take it to the HP. Actually just getting all that HP back that we've lost. One more Drain Punch is going to do it. Really hard this energy at this point. This one punch is all over. Meaning business with a swift 2 and 4, it looks like that's all the winning. That's all you need. This stage of the season, you can get some momentum and start putting some wins together. At one point, you'll be looking down the line, but next week you're going to scrape in the playoffs. So this is good stuff for all that. Really want to put them into that value in the final. Sweet Centers come out again. There's the fire punch. There's the Drain Punch to get the job done, and now it's on Illumis with it all to do and has no attacking moves. And Oma definitely has this one now. Illumis got this can't do anything. Yeah, this one is but over. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just going to help it again. Everybody's just going to just go. Sweet Sense going to come out again. Then every song trying to get the kill from the Bastion. We are going to switch to a couple of times later on. Oma decided to pizzle out a little bit with the Comfort, which is whatever. It's all just a good run. Comfort going for Flora Healings, but eventually Bastion gets the job done, takes out the Illumis and confirms the 2-0 win for Oma. So GG's to both guys. Really great to see Oma get back on the board and get another win under his belt. Another loss and playoffs was looking like a real long shot at that point. You're really hoping on results going your own way. So has definitely helped himself and put himself right back within a shout. But in the meantime, Dogsy has dragged himself right into a relegation battle, which is not where he's going to want to be moving into the sort of last quarter of the season. So leaves himself with a lot to do. But anyways, guys, on to our third game of the week, and this is a doozy. It is the Wobbuffet Ninjas taking on the Inglorious Surfers. Myself and Aaron obviously haven't played each other since season number 1, back when we were the Bully Boys, which is why the head record's the same. Aaron over in the East Division last season, I was over in the West Division. You may remember the last time we played, Aaron's duo of Hattery and Ndidi ended up proving to be too much. But the first time we played went a lot more differently, so it could be a repeat of either way. Both matches have ended up in being sort of pretty clinical victories for either coach. So this one is a really tough one to call. Aaron though looking super strong this season. That Surfers lineup, that Zashian has just been really putting in the work, and again a bit like Meme has continually proved that he's just not a one-trick pony. Last week we saw Gotharita really putting in the work against South Croydon Saurs. That Rotom Heat as well has been really sort of backing up that Zashian. Other than that, he's also got obviously Palippa and Ludicolo as like the Ranger of Ludicolo has been really great as fake out support as well. And as we've even seen at Marshadow a couple of times, those Technician Shadow Sneaks can really do the business, and it may be something that comes this week just to sort of cover off that Lunala. It's going to want to set up the Trick Room with that Lunala, and that may be something that Aaron looks to go for. Alternatively, could run Trick Room on that Gotharita just to reverse that Trick Room, could be an option he goes for. Meanwhile, while that Zashian sits comfortably behind a substitute, which we've seen quite a few times. A few new ones to the team, which we covered last week, of course, Skuntank and Frostmoth. Both could be really good here, because Skuntank especially, is known to be especially bulky, has access to things like Snarl, Crunch, which are going to be really great into the likes of that Lunala. And Frostmoth as well with those wide guards can really cover off for some of those spread moves that may look to hurt the things like the Zashi and a Rock Slide potentially for something like the Rotom Heat. We've not seen him on top really a lot of either, so could go for more he's got fake out in abundance. This is what I'm trying to say on Aaron's side. Any of which, if they're faster than say something like the Kangaskhan on the Ninjas, which is the fake out mon for the Ninjas, could prove to be really useful just to allow the mon next to it to be able to get set up. Meanwhile, while the Ninjas go for the Trick Room. Over on the Ninja side then, obviously we saw last week the destructive power of the Raikou and the Finny. Could they both make an appearance this week? Finny could look to be very good, but has got to be careful of those wild charges from a Zacian. It's not likely to live one of those for sure. Raikou though does match up incredibly well into the likes of that Zacian. And a couple of other ones on Aaron's side as well. There's only really Mega Aerodactyl that poses a bit of an issue. Of course, Zacian does have some pretty strong sort of fighting attacks that can sort of pose a threat to Raikou, but regardless of that, it doesn't really do a lot into the Raikou, so I would fully expect that to come from the Ninjas. May looks to get the Trick Room set up for something like the Mega Aggron here, which, Mega Aggron with this very bulky defense is going to match up great in a few of Aaron's physical attackers, but got to be careful in case that Rotom Heat is kicking around the back. Mega Aggron, much like the Melmetal that the Ninjas had earlier in the season, very, very stout HP and physical defense, but very woeful special defense that leaves it wide open for some big attacks. Of course, could look to see something like the Togetic as well with that follow me support, just to keep some of those attacks away from something that might be trying to get set up, on Aaron's side. And Kangaskhan always looks good here just to allow Luna to get that Trick Room up. And Macro could be very useful here as well with its Quash move and things like Taunt. It's got obviously Prankster that it has access to, can make it quite annoying to deal with. It's very frail, of course, but just those Prankster status moves can make it quite a difficult one to play around. But I'm going to stop my blabbering. Let's get into this one. It is the Aaron's Inglorious Surfers taking on the Wobbuffet Ninjas, and there is Aaron's team. It is the Zashian Krang, Skuntank, Rotom Heat, Ludicolo, Gotharita, and Frostmoth. Meanwhile, on the Ninja side, it is the Tapu Fini, Kangaskhan, the Lunala, Necro, Raikou, and the Mega Aggron. So Mega Aggron does make its debut appearance for the Ninjas, and it is Mega Aggron and Raikou that kick things off for the Ninjas. Meanwhile, on Aaron's side, it is the duo that played in Game 2 against Crystal last week. This is Zacian Crowned and the Gothorita then. So Gothorita does also have access to Fake Out, so I would think it'd be something that Aaron will be going for here to allow his Zacian to get its sub up. Aggron will of course be going for its Mega. I'm not too sure what Raikou is going to be look to be doing here. Aggron as well is in a bit of a scary spot if that Zacian's got something like close combat Fake Out. It's going to get blocked by that protector there as the substitute does go up, so it drops the Zacian's HP, but there's a Howl from the Raikou then, so that's going to buff the Mega Aggron's attack then. So the Ninjas looking to sort of go on the offensive, but with no speed control up, that Zacian's going to be faster and it's going to be wide open to some sort of attack here. And you know, something like a CC or even a Sacred Sword perhaps, it's going to really hurt that Mega Aggron. I think with that physical defense it would possibly live something like a Sacred Sword, but we'd definitely see that Gothorita, it does have Helping Hand as well, so it could be something to be mindful of. A Reflect from the right, but I think the Raikou is going to be too slow to stop, you know, stop the Zacian getting something up. There is a Helping Hand from the Gothorita, and in comes the close combat, and that takes out the Mega Aggron, gets the critical hit as well to boot. It's going to drop the defense on the Zacian, but it's all in vain as light screen goes up from the Raikou, as now in comes the Kangaskhan then, and now Kangaskhan's in one hell of a spot. Obviously he can't hit that substitute with that Zacian, and Zacian can just sit comfortably behind there and get attacks off. You know, close combat in Kangaskhan is going to be more than enough to take it out. Helping Hand is going to come out from that Gothorita. There's the Fake Out into the Gothorita, so obviously goes after the Helping Hand. There's the close combat. Is the Tropical Berry going to save it? It doesn't. It still goes down, and Zacian just taking names. There is the Raw from the Raikou as well, so that at least gets rid of the Zacian for now. As now in comes the Macro then. So Raikou and Macro with it all to do, but these look to be both support monsters. Raikou, let's see, with Howl, Light Screen, and with the Raw. Unless it's got some kind of like Volt switches, I even think that wouldn't be doing enough to sort of win the game. And Aaron looks to take this this first game looking super strong as Zacian, just putting in all of the work. And yeah, I don't see what Macro or Raikou can hope to achieve here, even against the Skuntank and Gothorita. Maybe the taunt goes into the Darkmon as well. It's a big mistake there from the Ninjas. Obviously not going to do anything. There's the Poison Jab from the Skuntank, and it reveals the red card on the Raikou as well, so that's 2 bits of good information. But Aaron knows that there's a Raw, knows that there's a red card as well, and that brings Zacian right back onto the field. So not what Matt would have wanted to see. There's a Helping Hand from Gothorita. Taunt comes out from onto the Zacian. I think it's a little too much too late. Behemoth Blade's going to be resisted by that Raikou, but Raikou going to go down all the same. And Aaron's going to take this first game then, so Matt going to have to try and bounce back in this one. Behemoth Blade is going to take Macro down to Sash, so again, good information there for Aaron. Nightshade gets a little bit of damage away like Gothorita, but I still think it's going to kill, and it doesn't. Now in comes the Skuntank. Behemoth Blade's going to get the job done, and there it is, Aaron confirming that game 1 then. So it's still not over, as we said earlier, you know, it's only game 1, there's still plenty of Pokemon to be played in this match, and both coaches switching things up for game 2 then. So it's Gothorita again from Aaron, but brings in the Frostmoth this time, and the Ninjas kicking things off with the Kangaskhan and the Lunala. So Ninjas going to look to potentially try and get that Trick Room up. There is the Fake Out into the Gothorita. Heat Wave comes out, so no Trick Room already from the Lunala, trying to get damage off straight away. Get some very good damage away at Frostmoth and Gothorita, but not quite enough. The special attack from the Struggle Bug is going to drop the special attacks out on that Lunala and the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan not going to care too much about that though. And now Skuntank is going to switch out. Protect comes out from that Lunala. Rock Slide is going to miss that Skuntank, but just gets some good damage away at Gothorita. And there is the Trick Room from the Gothorita. So as Aaron just set up the speed control for the Ninjas, that was a bit of a mistake. That Lunala is going to have a Moongeist Beam, and presumably that's what's going to be awaiting that Gothorita then. Protect, the double protect from the Lunala then, so Shadow Ball is going to get blocked by that protect, and there's the crunch from the Skuntank. Double Edge, going to get some very good damage away as Skuntank takes down to half HP, and Kangaskhan taking some really cold damage as well, with 3 more turns of Trick Room left. So Aaron's 2 turns gone, and Aaron's not lost any mons well under Trick Room, so he'll be looking to try and stall it out, just to allow his when his Zacian comes back in. it can start wrecking house again. In comes the Tapu Fini then, so switching out the Lunala, and there's the Shadow Ball into the Kangaskhan. That's a bit of a mistake there. Crunch gets a critical hit from the Skuntank, so Skuntank is going to take out Kangaskhan. So advantage to Aaron, but that's going to allow the Mega Aggron now to switch in as Mega Aggron and Fini on the field now. Set up that missing terrain as well, so no status move is going to be able to go off. And we know, we saw last week, this Fini does have access to a Shadow Ball that Godfrey is not going to enjoy taking. Bit of a mistake there from Aaron, hitting into the Kangaskhan there. There is the Aggron. The high horsepower is going to take out that Skuntank, and the Shadow Ball into the Fini gets some good damage away. And the Shadow Ball from the Fini, the Godfrey is going to take it down. And now with one tiny Trick Room left, it is 3v2 then. It is Zacian and Frostmoth versus the world. Aaron potentially can just either sit behind a substitute or just go for a protect this turn and just try and wait out this Trick Room. So it's still on all but over. This Zacian could still very easily bring this one back for the Surfers. Protect does come out from the Zacian, there it is, and I think that was a protect from the Giga Drain from the Frostmoth. Apologies, I did click the skip button there. So Giga Drain did come out from the Frostmoth, and it looked like Aggron went into the Zacian then, and so did the Fini, so doubling in, not quite working, and now the speed control is in Aaron's favour. Zacian's going to be much faster than both the Fini and the Aggron. Protect's going to come out from the Aggron. There's a substitute from the Zacian. Scald is going to fade that substitute, and Giga Drain is going to get rid of that Fini from the Frostmoth, so Frostmoth's getting some HP back as well. And there's now a 2v2, Lunala and Aggron versus Zacian and the Frostmoth then. So Frostmoth does have access to wide guard. He already knows that there is a heat wave on that Lunala, so both Frostmoth and Zacian not going to enjoy taking a heat wave here. So if he is running wide guard, maybe something that saves a bit of damage. There's a high horsepower on that Mega Aggron as well, which Zacian again is also not going to enjoy taking. Zacian is going to move first, and we saw Helping Handed critical close combat was enough to take out the Mega Aggron. Is a regular close combat going to be enough to do it? Obviously, we read earlier, Mega Aggron does have a high defense stats. There's the close combat, and it's not enough. It takes down 20% HP, does drop its defensive stats. There's the heat wave from the Lunala. This one gets some really good damage away. Procs the Wiki Berry on the Frostmoth. Struggle Bug comes out and drops the special attack of Lunala, and high horsepower is going to get rid of the Zacian. And this one looks we're going to look to tie things up. Ninja's going to tie us up at 1 apiece. It's Frostmoth versus Lunala and Aggron. This one looks to be done. There's the Moongeist Beam from the Lunala, gets rid of the Frostmoth, and we have 1 apiece. We're going to move into a game 3 then. And this is it then. Can Aaron close it out and get win number 7 and be the first team to qualify for playoffs? Sorry, the Ninja's about to inflict the first defeat, as it is the Raikou and Lunala this time. So both coaches switching things up for each game. Zacian, Crown and Skuntank on Aaron's side, and we said Raikou and Lunala. And you can see me hovering over there, that looks to be like the Raw may come out from that Raikou. We'll obviously go bypass that substitute and kick that Zacian out of play. I think that the Protect may come out from now just to stop any damage from coming off from that Skuntank. We saw already it has Crunch. There is the substitute from the Zacian. Snarl's going to come out from that Skuntank, so that's also good information. Does drop the special attack of that Raikou. Red Card's going to kick that Skuntank out, and there's the Raw from the Raikou. So it gets rid of both Mons, and now finds out the 2 Mons in the backup for Aaron as well, and it is Ludicolo and the Rotom Heat as well. So good information there for the Ninjas. Knows all 4 of the Mons on Aaron's side now, and stops that Zacian from getting any damage in. Potentially look to set Trick Room. There's the Volt Switch from the Rotom Heat, brings in the Skuntank again, gets some good damage away at Lunala. There's the Light Screen as well, and Muddy Water is going to drop the accuracy of that Raikou, that Light Screen saving some damage there, and there is the Trick Room then. Good little damage there away from Ludicolo, not going for the fake out into the Raikou to block the move going off. Good switch out there from Aaron, keeps his Rotom Heat safe. There's the Muddy Water, gets a critical hit on the Raikou. Raikou just about hanging on there though. There's the Moongeist Beam onto the Ludicolo, gets some really good damage away, and the Snarl again is going to drop the special attacks of Lunala and Raikou. as Raikou goes for the Volt Switch. So Aaron now aware of all the moves on that Raikou, and Ludicolo still hanging on as in comes the Mega Aggro, and then with 3 times a Trick Room left to go. That Ludicolo is slower than that Lunala as well, it would seem, as it went before it, so that's not really worked too well. And Rotom Heat switches in and reads the play there very well as Aaron sees the high horsepower coming, of course, levitates. It's not going to work on that Rotom Heat. Moongeist Beam is going to hit that Ludicolo. The Ludicolo's Muddy Water also missing Lunala, which could be really, really huge. Get some good damage away to Mega Aggron though, as now in comes Skuntank then. 2 turns left to Trick Room. Light Screen is up, so it's going to stop those special attacks from hurting too much. There's the Stone Edge, and that takes out the Rotom. He says now all of a sudden it's a 4v2. Moongeist Beam into that Skuntank's not going to get too much damage, of course it does resist it. There's the Crunch from the Skuntank's going to take out the Nile, so the Trick Room setter is gone on the Ninja side, as now in comes the Kangaskhan and in comes the Zacian then. So Zacian and Skuntank with it all to do in the 2v3. 1 turn left in Trick Room, so Aaron potentially can just safely go for a Protect here just to wait out this Trick Room. Of course, and knows that the fake out will potentially be coming from that Kangaskhan. Might not want to risk his Zacian going down here, because I would have thought the Mega Aggron's going to focus in that Zacian. But I'll be honest, it left me with a difficult decision. It's because, of course, he could protect and then I waste my time if I double in, or I could not, I could not fake out and just go for damage. It was a very difficult one. It was either double in and risk the protect, or not double in and hope that Aaron didn't read me like a book. Number 6 then, 1 more time of Trick Room, 1 more time of Light Screen. Not that it's going to matter too much. There's the fake out into the Zacian, so it doesn't go for Protect or the Substitute. There's the Sucker Punch, high horsepower, it's not quite enough to take out the Skuntank as well. There is the flinch from the Zacian, as now Trick Room does end. And Aaron now is going to be free to go for an attack here on the Zacian. A CC into either of those ones is going to be more than enough to take it out. Obviously Aggron already down to half HP. Zacian position very well here, but has got to get it right, can't risk taking the wrong one out here. We think it's going to go for the Mega Aggron. Kangaskhan, we've seen has fake out Rock Slide. I would think double edge as well. Is the Protect from the Mega Aggron, so stops that close combat, so Mega Aggron does live to fight another day. And the double edge is going to take Skuntank now, so it is now the 1v3, Zacian with it all to do. Is it about to do it? Is it about to make the hero run? We know Aaron likes these sort of all or nothing situations, the 1v3s and 1v4s. Is Zacian the one to do it? Can go for a close combat, knows he can take out either one, but does know that it risks dropping his defenses. There's a Substitute from the Zacian. Double edge is not going to do enough to fade this Substitute. The high horsepower though is going to be enough, and Zacian dropping his HP, that there could have been a bit of a mistake on Aaron's side. And Matt now could potentially just go for another Protect here. Try and get some damage off with something like a double edge and slowly just chip that Zacian down. I wouldn't think Aaron's going to try and go for a Substitute now just to try not to drop his health anymore. There's a close combat into the Aggron, it does take it out, it's going to drop his defense and special defense. There's a double edge, it takes Zacian down to 7% HP, and there's still one Mon in the back, and it's Raikou. So he's got to choose which one to go for. He knows that either Mon is going to be able to take it out, and this looks to be it. Aaron and Inglorious Surfers are going to take their first defeat of the season to the Wobbuffet Ninjas. Almost did. There's the close combat into the Kangaskhan. Does take at least one with it, but Raikou then going to get the job done, and the Ninjas take this one 2-1. What a great game! That was really fun match to play. I can't begin to tell you how much fun that was. A massive GG's to Aaron. Such a difficult opponent to try and take down. Zacian is such a piece of work. But it's full credit to him. He brought a few things I wasn't quite expecting. The Skuntank especially. And yeah, it was a really tough match to win, for sure. I know he'll even admit he made a few mistakes in that one, but even I also made quite a few mistakes, especially in that game 1. So I feel like they kind of balanced out. But he also said as well that he didn't want to keep, not losing forever and ever. And I totally agree on that. When you're not losing, the pressure just piles on more and more for you to keep winning. So it's fair enough. And it's, the unbeaten streak ends. The king is dead, as they say. And the Ninjas get a 3rd win in a row then. So on to our 4th match of the week. It is yet another relegation 6-pointer for the main man, Mr. Draco, and his Swindon Rookies against Neil's Scuba Squirtle. So Neil's 1-1 since they joined the league, beating out Silver's Tyrant in the first match they played, but losing out to Goomys and Space City PC last week puts them in a bit of a relegation dogfight now. And obviously the Rookies losing their last 2 matches to 2 other relegation candidates in Newcastle and the Ninjas. So all to play for on this one. I would think the Yveltal is going to be super, super strong here for Draco's Rookies. If something like the, Psych Terrain duo of Indeed Alakazam come, that Yveltal is primed in a very good spot to be able to get some good damage off into either of those, something like a Snarl ought to do some very big damage to the Alakazam, very, very frail one. And is obviously going to resist those attacks as well on Neil's side, so it could be really useful here. The same with the Mega Gyarados as well, of course, does change its typing when it Megas and becomes part Dark type, so could be really, really good matching up into the Squirtle side. We saw the Torterra and the Quagsire come out last week as well as the as well as the Mega Gyarados, which we spoke about earlier. Also picked up Melmetal in that free agency period, could be useful here, but got to be careful because that Ho-Oh and Entei's fire attacks are going to hit that Melmetal very, very hard. Obviously, just has quite strong physical defense, but still, you don't want to eat a super effective attack from either of those. And we saw earlier in the season when Latvian controlled this team just how good a special attacking Entei did into something like the Melmetal. So definitely scary. Mimikyu as well could be good here just to set up Trick Room. A lot of slow ones on Draco's side which would benefit from the Trick Room, so it could be a route he goes down. Over on Neil's side then, we saw just how good Ho-Oh was last week. It single-handedly won the game 2 for him, just roosting and protecting after he'd made a great skill swap play with the Alakazam, swapping that Truant onto Memes brought on Wash. So makers of very smart players, does Niels. So definitely a talented player to one to watch out for. So just because he's in that relegation zone, do not count him out. We didn't get to see that Ash Greninja last week, unfortunately wasn't able to get a kill with it, so could we finally see that Ash Greninja this week? It'd be very nice to see. I do love Ash Greninja, have a bit of a soft spot for it. We already spoke a little bit about how strong Entei would be here. Of course, doesn't match up against too well into something like that Mega Gyarados, but there's a few mons on Draco's side that would not enjoy taking something like a Sacred Fire or a Heat Wave or an Eruption from Neil's side, so definitely something to be mindful of. And of course the slacking as well. If he's able to get that Truant off, a slacking can really do the work. It's such a powerful and strong one, so definitely a few options on Neil's side in this one. And I'm going to stop my blabbering and we're going to get right into this one in yet another relegation 6-pointer. It is the Scuba Squirtles versus Swindon Rookies, and Draco going to lead the line with the Mega Gyarados and the Yveltal. That Mega Gyarados Intimidate is going to drop the Greninja and the Volbeat. So Neil's going for that Ash Greninja straight off the bat. Volbeat can go for something like a Tailwind here, or potentially something like a Taunt. But I think the Draco's going to go straight on the attack and try and get rid of that support one and deal with the Greninja later. Because Greninja does have access to things like an Ice Beam or something. Not going to benefit from Protein where it would get the stab type bonus on that, but all the same, I think an Ice Beam with its high special attack is going to do some big damage with it. Does something like the Evolve. The Mega from the Guardians of the Mold Breaker does put there's the Tailwind from the Volbeat, Ice Beam from the Greninja. There's some really good damage with the Yveltal, and there is a Snarl from Yveltal, and that's going to drop the special attack of the Greninja and the Volbeat. And Volbeat takes a Waterfall pretty handily, just about hanging on from that one. And we are still 4 apiece with 3 more times of Tailwind to go. That Volbeat takes a big damage there. Greninja's damage output really hurt by that one as Yveltal switches out. Now in comes the Melmetal, then there's this light screen from the Volbeat. It takes the Ice Beam really well, and the Waterfall from the Mega Gyarados is going to take out the Volbeat, so it does get screen set up, but not what you want against that physical Melmetal. And I said it's a great switch in there from Draco, reading that he would try and go for the Yveltal to be able to set up the Ash Greninja, so good stuff there, but not what he wants to see on the other side though, as there's the Entei. That is a special attacking Entei, then Draco could be in a world of trouble here with that Melmetal. I mean, even if it's a physical one, a Sacred Fire is going to get some big damage off, and of course there is a risk of the ban there as well. There's a Sacred Fire from the Entei, and it does eat that up, but there's the burn as well. Stone Edge is going to take Entei down to 12% HP, and there's the Rock Slide from the Melmetal, takes out the Entei, gets some good damage off to Greninja as well. One more time, the Tailwind is now Alakazam joins the field. I'm going to be going super speed with that Tailwind, and it's already high speed stat. But that Mega Gyarados is going to have a Dark type move, so going to want to be able to do something to that Gyarados for sure, or that Alakazam is going to eat something like a Lash Out, or even a Darkest Lariat on that Melmetal, and not going to enjoy it very much. That is one thing for sure. Doesn't get the benefit of the terrain here for the Expanded Force. There's the Ice Beam. Dazzling Gleam is super effective against that Mega Gyarados, but not quite enough to take out the Melmetal. That the Crunch is going to take Alakazam down with Sash, and there's the Darkest Lariat to get rid of that Alakazam. And now it is all up to Greninja in the 1v4. This has not been a great start here from Niels. Was unable to break through that Yveltal and the Gyarados, and now the Melmetal has just really been putting in the wear. You know, really ate that Entei's attack, and managing to, still do really big damage despite the burn. Just speaks so highly of Melmetal's attack. Ice Beam is going to allow Battle Bond to proc, and we do see the Ash Greninja. There's the Waterfall from the Mega Gyarados. Greninja only just hanging on, so Greninja does at least get itself a kill, as now in comes the Mimikyu. So either way, this one looks very over. Mimikyu will be able to go for a fairy move here to take out the Greninja. There's the Ice Beam is going to break the disguise of the Melmetal, the Mimikyu, but it's not going to matter. There's the play rough, gets rid of the Greninja, and Draco takes his game number one. So Niels at least getting some good information in terms of what moves Draco's running, but other than that, not a great start. And Draco just sticking to his guns, sticking with the Yveltal and the Gyarados, but Niels switching things up, and not what he'll have wanted to see, as indeed and Alakazam lead the line. He does get the terrain set up, but the psychic moves of Expanding Force are not going to do anything here, but both ones do get Dazzling Gleam, which of course Yveltal and Mega Gyarados are not going to enjoy even those. I think they'll be bulky enough to live them though, so we'll have to see. Mega Gyarados does go for his Mega. There's the Dazzling Gleam, gets some good damage off to Yveltal. There's the Snarl, it's going to take Alakazam down with Sash, and going to drop both special attacks. So indeed, Dazzling Gleam's not going to do anywhere near as much. Takes Yveltal down below half HP. There's the Crunch to take out the Alakazam, and already on turn number 1, Draco takes the first kill, and now 4v3. The Ninja switches in there. So he knows there's potentially an Ice Beam coming his way, but may just look to go for damage here and try and get rid of the Indeedee, and drop the Greninja special attack with something like a Snarl, and just sort of take the hit. The Protectors come out from the Yveltal. There's the U-turn from the Greninja, so good stuff there. That does swap it out, as now in comes the Entei. There's the Dazzling Gleam. Is it going to do enough? No, the Mega Gyarados does hang on, and the Crunch is going to take out Indeedee. It is now a 2v4 as Entei and Greninja with it all to do, but at least this time Yveltal and Mega Gyarados on pretty low HP. Knows that Greninja is going to be faster as well, so this could turn around very quickly potentially here. Yeah, Greninja could definitely get the kill here on the Yveltal, and I would have thought Entei could easily finish up that Mega Gyarados, so could bring it back down to 2v2 for sure here. Definitely not to say Protect comes out from the Mega Gyarados. There's the Ice Beam is going to take out the Greninja. Battle Bond's going to proc, and there is the Ash Greninja, then Stone Edge, blocked by that Protect. So Niels does at least get one on the board in turn number 3 here. Draco got a few options to bring in here. There is the Mimikyu then, so Mimikyu with that disguise means going to have to take 2 hits before it takes any major damage from those attacks, so Niels going to potentially have to try and double focus that down, but at the risk of taking the hit from that Mega Gyarados. There's the Ice Beam, he's going to break that disguise, And the Stone Edge comes out from the Entei. That is going to get rid of Mega Gyarados. That's going to allow Mimikyu to get Trick Room up, and now in comes the Metal then. And that is not what Niels would have wanted to see. That Metal, obviously, perfect little Trick Room on. And Draco now has full speed control, but it is 2v2, so it is all tied up. And that Greninja with its Ash form is going to get much higher special attack. It's going to be really hitting hard. There's a Rock Slide from Melmetal. That's some very good damage away to Entei. The Play Rough is going to take care of the Ash Greninja, and it is all up to Entei now. There's a Sacred Fire into the Melmetal, takes it down below half HP. But this one looks to be over then. Or has Entei got got something? He's got to go for the Rock Slide here to try and take it out. Rock Slide does miss though from the Melmetal. The Play Rough is not going to do enough. Entei with 20% HP is going to go from the Sacred Fire, and now is a 1v1 between Mimikyu and Entei. But that Play Rough is going to be able to do enough, but of course Play Rough is a 90% accuracy move. It could miss, and Entei could bring himself nails right back into this one. So it isn't over in this game number 2. But Draco has to go for it. There is the Play Rough. It does land. It takes care of the Entei, and Draco gets himself his first win since week number 1 and gets himself back on the board with a brilliant win over Neil. So GG's to both guys there. That Mega Gyarados in your belt are really putting in the work. And yeah, I mean, fair play to Niels. He very nearly brought it back again. He loves a game 2 comeback, does Niels. Very nearly brought it back in the end there, but that Trick Room just ended up being a burden on him. Not able to double down in that Mimikyu. Which is fair play. Entei would have taken a waterfall there from Mega Gyarados, and I highly doubt it would have lived it. So had to go for it. So completely fair play. And yeah, GG's to Draco and to Niels. Good stuff to see Draco back to winning ways as well. The same as it was to see Omega back to winning ways earlier. But it is now royally a dogfight down there in that bottom 4 now. 3 teams all sat on 2 wins. It could be anyone's guess if any of them or which one or all of them may make playoffs yet. Who knows? But onto our 5th game of the week then. It is the Newcastle Thundurus taking on the South Croydon Saurs. So as we mentioned earlier, these two shared the British Mountain League East Division last season, and tied at 1 apiece in terms of head-to-head. Crizzle taking the first game, and then Dave famously winning out later on in that season with really smart in Tim's pivot plays, just completely putting a stop to that Cabalion, and Crizzle just not able to get any damage output on. So Crizzle fully aware of Dave's talents and how strong he is, and yeah, I mean, we said it the last couple of weeks. Dave is getting more and more comfortable and strong with this team. He's just building up his power slowly but surely, and then I'm predicting he's going to get playoffs and just completely unleash it on everyone. And yeah, he's looking harder and harder to stop. Since that sort of poor start of the season, he's just been absolutely on a one. And you've got to say, I mean, not that any of you guys have seen it, but his match versus Silver could have went either way as well. It was just a sort of look at the draw, the way it went on that one, and that one player was a bit sort of cut for time. So Dave could very easily be 4-2 and in the top half, top 5, top 4 of the league. So he's playing his heart out this season, and the insane Ferrothorn, really putting in the work and being really strong. That Dialga as well being such a problem. But mostly that Ferrothorn, it's got 11 kills from him so far. It's just with the Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet and then the Leech Seed, not only are they taking hits from making physical contact with that Ferrothorn, but the Leech Seed just slowly chipping them down. He's just able to wait them out because Ferrothorn is so bulky. As we saw versus Draco, because he had 2 physical attackers, that Ferrothorn was able to just get the 1v3. This thing is just great, and he's added to it his already strong team with 3 or 4 even better ones. Of course, he already has Lele as well, which proved to be very good against Draco last week. But the Mega Banette, Vikavolt, Weezing Galar, and the Jumpluff as well. But Weezing Galar especially, if someone on the other team has an ability that's gonna help him out, the Weezing Galar's got Neutralizing Gas to completely get rid of that, and he can even levitate on it. So if something like the Insane or anything like that's going to take a ground type attack, or the Dialga, you can just switch in either Vikavolt or the Weezing Galar, and obviously just completely immune. I would think he's going to look to bring Lantern in this one. Kyogre on Crizzle's side is going to look to go for those Origin Pulse and Water Spouts, and Water Absorb Lantern's going to quite comfortably deal with those, so I think it'll be really, really strong here. And of course, those electric attacks are going to deal special effect damage to that Kyogre, but got to be careful in his own right not to hit, to try and really switch in case that Mega Swampert comes in. Obviously, you're going to be immune to those electric attacks. Over on Crizzle's side, then, obviously losing out pretty handily to our Inglorious Surfers last week, going to be looking to try and get to winning ways in this one. I would think that the Kyogre and the Mega Swampert are going to come here, but got to watch out for that neutralizing glass on that Wheezing Galar. Going to really put a stop to that Mega Swampert's speed. The Whimsicott, I would think, is going to stay at home in this one. Again, that neutralizing gas. A lot of Crizzle's team where the neutralizing gas really just sort of ends up hindering what he wants to do. Something like the Hydreigon here could be really, really strong with anything, the follow me on the fur or anything like that. If it can get a nasty plot up, could just be in a prime position, just be able to sweep for Crizzle. It gets a pretty wide move pool with things like Air Power, Flamethrower, Dark Pulse, and like Draco Meteor and things. It's going to do some really big damage into a lot of Dave's team. So it could be something he employs. So Lazzle here could be quite strong. Especially for dealing with that Ferrothorn especially, and the Vikavolt. It's going to be really, really strong into, so something Crizzle may look to use. Anyway, guys, on to match number 5 then. It is the Newcastle Thundurus versus the South Croydon Saurs, and this one is a replay, so I will try and keep up as best I can, but Crizzle going to lead the line with the Hydreigon and Slazzle, and Dave kicking us off with Lele and Wheeling Galana is delivered to neutralising gas. Switch Bomb into that Lele is going to get the Poison. Dark Pulse is not going to quite take it out. Psyshock, though, is going to take out the Salazzle, and the Strange Steam is going to come out from the Wheezing Galana, and that gets rid of the Hydreigon as well. 4 times weak to Fiery, obviously. The Poison does take out Lele, now in comes the Mega Swampert and the Kyogre and Vikavolt. It kicks things off with Dave. Protect comes out from that Kyogre. There is the Earthquake from Swampert. That's going to get some really big damage away to Wheezing and to Vikavolt. Of course, that neutralizing gas turning off that Levitate on Vikavolt, so that could be really big. Does get the Toxic Poison on that Mega Swampert though. Now Wheezing is switching out, and Rain's going to get activated, and that Mega Swampert is going to be going super fast, and Liquidation is going to take out the Vikavolt, and all of a sudden it is 2v2. Water Spout getting some really good damage away at the Ferrothorn. And is Wheezing Galar and Ferrothorn with all to do neutralizing gas is going to turn off Mega Swampert's ability. Protect comes out from that Kyogre. There is the Earthquake that's going to get rid of the Wheezing Galar, and now Ferrothorn on very little HP. Protect blocks that Leech Seed, so no HP back. There is leftovers Ferrothorn though, so that's good information there for Crizzle. Low Kick is going to mean Swampert took some damage, but Crizzle takes this first one then and leads the liners, and then we move into game number 2, and Crizzle switching it up with the Hydreigon and the Ferret, and Dave switching things up. No Wheezing Galar leading the line. It is the Ferrothorn Lele. The Frisk going to read that there's an Assault Vest, and the obviously the leftovers on the Ferrothorn Flamethrower from the Hydreigon. Dave reads that and gets to protect him. In comes the Lantern then with its Balloon. Follow Me comes out once again from the Ferret. Nasty Plot hitting from the Hydreigon, and Follow Me is going to allow that Ferret to take that, and Nasty Plot Hydreigon's going to get some good damage where there's the F power, but it is the Air Balloon Lanterns. That's a big mistake on Crizzle's side, and Energy Ball's going to take care of that Mega Swampert, and now Lantern able to go for a stockpile, so going to buff its defense and special defenses. So big mistake there from Crizzle. There's the Dark Pulse from the Hydreigon, the critical hit. Dark Pulse not able to take out Lele. Moonblast is going to take out the Lele. There is the Water Spout that's going to take out the Lele, so it's 1v3 now. Kyogre with all to do, and Dialga switches in next to Lantern. There's the Thunder from the Kyogre, not doing anything enough, but does break the balloon. Thunder from Dialga is going to take Kyogre right down, and there's the Discharge, slapping the alarm. Dialga not taking any hits, and Dave's going to tie us up at 1 apiece. Lantern being the absolute don there in that second game, playing really well. Now Lele and Lantern that lead the line for Dave, and it is Pheromosa and Salazzle for Chris. Slazzle going for protect Drill Run, not getting enough done to the Pheromosa, and Lele able to get rid of the Pheromosa and Lantern. Obviously the Protect blocking that Surf but doing his own damage to Lele. Protect comes out from there from the Kyogre. There as he Sludge Bomb onto Lantern, does get the poison off. But there is the Psyshock from Salazzle. We already saw in game 1 just how much damage that done, and the Discharge going to get blocked by that Kyogre's Protect, but he takes out his own Lele, so could that end up being a mistake as now Mega Swampert switches in. Looks to be no Wheezing Galar this time. Swampert's going to get full advantage of that there, the rain, and there is the Chopper Berry on the Dialga, allowing it to eat up that Swampert's attack, and there's the Water Spout from the Kyogre. Lantern being fully healed up though by that, and the Thunder from Dialga is going to paralyze the Kyogre. Telepathy stops the surf damage from hitting too hard and get some good chip damage there away to Swampert and Kyogre. Kyogre hits paralysis hits though. There is the Earthquake from the Swampert, and that takes out both Lantern and Dialga. Of course, its balloon already broken, and Swampert now versus Ferrothorn, about a 1v3 low kick, getting some good damage away there. Ferrothorn, but the Iron Barbs taking Swampert below average speed. Leftovers coming out, and there is a protect from Ferrothorn. Iron defense that previous time as well, buffing its defense up, and Leftovers just slowly but surely healing it up. There's the Earthquake from the Swampert, so making no physical contact. But there's the Leech Seed now from Ferrothorn. The Earthquake not doing quite enough, and Dave can just sit here and protect and just heal himself up with the Leftovers and Leech Seed. And Swampert's now in one hell of a position. He could go for a low kick, but it's not going to do enough thanks to that buff defense. The Iron Barbs is going to do damage to himself. There's another Iron defense, and Leech Seed's going to take it out, and Dave is going to get yet another famous victory. He takes that one in a game number 3, and Dave's winning run just keeps on rolling, guys. What a guy. What a guy. GG's to both players. That one was a really, really fun one, as always. Not too much stall play in that one there from Dave. I like he's mixed it up a little bit. The last 2 weeks has sort of went a bit more balls to the wall, and Lele just has been an absolute don for him. The last 2 weeks really putting in the work. Salasso and Hydreigon really not eating those hits up very well. But yeah, GG's to both guys. Crizzle's on a little bit of a losing run now. 2 games in a row. We'll want to turn that one around very quickly to keep his playoff aspirations going. But anyway, guys, on to our final game of the week. Then it is the Knights of Sidonia taking on the Oops. Hang on, guys. I have the wrong... Apologies, dudes. Where we at? There it is. Had the wrong one set up. There we go, guys. I was wondering why I said 1 and 4. Knights of Sidonia versus the Tyrants. Silver, as we mentioned earlier in the show, on an absolute tear thus far this season. The stall play just proving a lot for people to handle thus far. People just not sure how to play around it, and he's seems to be so talented with the sort of stall play. It's obviously carried over from singles on like the showdown ladders and stuff. Just seems to really know how to work it, and he's playing it in a doubles format so smartly. That alone executor, the Crobat as well, and then Octillery sat behind, protects and substitute, just getting those moody boosts, make it such an ass to deal with. All credit to Silver, and of course once he's done annoying the other team to death, the Kali Shadow just comes in and just sweeps things up. He's made a bit of a mess, and he just comes along and just cleans the floor nice now. There's of course added that Mega Diancie and a Moongus to the lineup as well. That Mega Diancie with the things like Ally Switch and that Diamond Storm damage as well tends to be really good, and of course does get an opportunity to buff its own defenses with that Diamond Storm. So just adding to that stall element with both those ones. Of course, Moongus as well can go for things like Spores, and I would imagine Silver has other things up his sleeve with that Amoongus. The Registeel as well could be really strong here. Of course, got to watch out though for that Mega Camerupt. Of course, not going to enjoy taking an eruption from that thing, and the same with the Torracat as well. So maybe Registeel stays at home here, or maybe Silver calls his bluff and puts the Registeel in there. But I would think that things like the Octillery, and the Kali Shadow are going to be really strong here, and Crobat as well, just to make sure you get some speed control up. Could go for those Toxics as well, and make it quite it could just sort of stall it out. To be honest, you could just slowly just wait for the toxic damage to chip him away, and just wait for his Octillery to slowly but surely buff its stats. On Jabba's side then, as we said, looking to try and end a bit of a rotten run, hasn't won since week number 1. Trying to end that winning run like Draco did earlier on. That Lugia has really been putting in the work for Jabba. I think if we switch things up with how he works that Lugia, which he has done a few times and just not quite worked out, it may be able to get things going. Something like that Jirachi could be really strong here, to block those Toxics from Silver's side. We saw last week as well just how good the Xurkitree was. This thing has crazy high special attack, and if it's able to get a kill and get beast boost, it can be very difficult to stop. Did run it with Choice Scarf last week, so may look to employ the same sort of strat. I would think Maractus is a very strong candidate to come this week as well. Just Silver does not tend to bring any of the attacking move other than Scald and the Artillery, and with Storm Drain and Maractus, he's going to really be able to put a stop to that, so could be quite useful here. And the same with the, you know, something like the, you know, the Torracat is going to be really strong here with his fake out support, you know, going to force Silver in having to, you know, protect something first time. But of course that Crobat does have it in a focus, so, you know, he's got to be careful not to make the mistake of hitting into that thing and you know, Crobat still getting an attack or, you know, Tailwind off or something, or even a taunt, you know, to fully stop the keys. But anyway, guys, on to the final game of the week. It is the nice Sidereal University Tyrants. This one is, of course, this one is also a replay as well, so as always, I will do my best to try and keep up with it. It's Artillery and Crobat that lead the line for Silver, and Circuitry and Clefty. Protect comes out from Artillery, and Misty Terrain goes up from the Clefty. So that's a really, really useful bit of attack there. It's going to block the likes of that Crobat and things going for the poisons. Does go for the taunt and the Clefties, that's going to stop the Clefty and attacks off, but you know, it's going to put a full stop to that Crobat, and the Crobat gets taken out with the Zycatry as Lugia switches in, and the Octillery getting a 2x special attack boost from the Moody, hits a Scald and Zycatry, but not quite enough, gets a 2x defense buff from the Moody this time around. Now here comes the Kali Shadow and Lugia, not going to enjoy taking one of those. Protect comes out from the Lugia, Protect comes out from the Artillery, and there's the Electro then into the Kali Shadow. That's going to slow its speed down. Astral Barrage is going to take out that Circuitry, so it is at one apiece from the Cosmopus and the Kali Shadow with that boost of special attack. Artillery just getting stat moves for days, but there is the Maractus. The Aeroblast not quite enough to take out the Kali Shadow. There's the Astral Barrage. It's going to take Maractus down to Sasha Lugia, just about hanging on with the 84 HP, just allowing him to live that one knockoff. It's going to take out the Kali Shadow as well. Then there's a substitute from the Artillery. Again, another special attack boost thanks to Moody, and then in comes the Altaria, which comes out from the Maractus and Inspector Shield. Icy Wind is going to miss the Altaria, and of course the substitute resisting on the Artillery side. So Altaria taking some damage there thanks to Spiky Shield, not Protect, my apologies. There's Protect from the Artillery's Rest. They feel there's the Icy Wind, just going to slow Altaria down a bit, and it's just special effect, super effective damage. There's some good damage away there. There's Dragonfly is going to take out the Maractus. It is now 2v2. Now Lugia really don't help, and only Klefki in the back. Meanwhile, Artillery is just getting stronger and stronger there. There's the Air Blast from the Lugia, not really doing enough. The foul play is going to fade at that substitute as Cotton Guard goes up from Altaria. There's the Skull to take out Lugia, and now Klefki with it all to do against a very, very strong Artillery and Altaria. There's a protect from the Artillery. Foul play will get stopped by that, and Dragon Dance goes up from the Altaria then. I think Altaria is going to be able to do enough to take it out, if not a Skull from Artillery is going to do good work. Dragon Claw obviously immune from that Klefki, so is that the only attacking move on Altaria? That could be some good information for Jabba later on. You know, knows that there's only one attacking move on Artillery, and there's actually only one attacking move on Altaria, which is Klefki is going to resist. Skull from Artillery is going to take out the keys though, and Silver takes the lead in this first game then, as we move on into game number 2. Is Crobat and Artillery again for Silver, and it's Torracat and Klefki this time from Jabba switching things up. Protect comes out from the Artillery, and Misty Terrain goes up again, and Tailwind goes up for Crobat and Protect blocking that taunt from Torracat. So Jabba with the right idea, but Protect keeps the Artillery going. Taunt comes out there from the Crobat, stopping the taunt going off. There's a Scald into Torracat, gets a good damage to Crunch, getting a critical hit, and the foul play as well, gets a good damage into Artillery. No taunt this time from the Crobat into the keys. That comes out again. There's the light screen from the Klefki, taunted now by the Crobat, crunching up off of that Protect, and so far we're in time to go forward all 4 months up. Big mistake there from Silver, goes to the Toxic under the terrain, and Torracat obviously not really happy that the Falcon is going to take out the Artillery then. And it is now 4v3, as now in comes the Altaria, and Jabba's in a great position here. He knows there's only one attacking move on the Altaria. He can take care of it, and the Klefki can't be really hurt by it. There's a foul play into the Altaria, and the Crunch not doing so much. Taunt comes out again from the Crobat. There is the Cotton Guard again. Taunt gets blocked by the taunt, and there's foul play from the Klefki into the Crobat. Misty Terrain goes up again just to block those Toxics, and now it gets taunted once again, and now Silver starts going for those Dragon Dances as Crunch comes out from the Torracat, and that does drop the defense of the Crobat. Crobat's cross poison though is going to take out the Torracat as the Altaria keeps Dragon Dancing. Foul play though from the Klefki is going to take out, and Klefki has 2 kills to his name. This one is absolutely wrecking house. Now in comes the Circuitry, which is Choice Scarf, so gotta watch out. And there's a brutal swing, does some good damage away there to Kali Shadow, but not that enough. Trick comes out from the Kali Shadow, so now is Choice Specs. is on the Klefki, so it's going to be locked into that foul play. But foul play from the Klefki is going to take out the Cali Shadow, so ends up causing his own doom. And now in comes the Maractus. Dragon Lance goes against there from the Altaria, but this one's actually over. Either way, the Altaria can't hurt the Klefki, and Klefki's going to be able to just slowly but surely take this one down. No matter how much attack it gets, it can take out the Executory and the Maractus, but it's not going enough to the much does get the critical hit. There's the Dragon Claw. Takes Maractus down to 2% HP. There's the foul play into the Altaria. Sucker Punch not getting as much done with the critical hit this time. Altaria does take out Maractus. There's the foul play again, and Klefki of all ones gets the ace. This one, Altaria does take out Executory, but foul play is going to get done, and Jabba ties us up at 1 apiece. Is Jabba about to get a very, very, very famous victory over Silver in his Tyrant? And Tyrant is now Silver does switch it up this time, goes for the DMC Mega and the Crobat, and Jabba goes for Zachary. Target is further into the Mega DMC there with the Volt Switch. It's going to take the Crobat down with Sash, and Zachary switches out, and then in comes the Klefki then. Kieran does go for the Crobat, and now going much faster there, the Torn out from the Crobat. And Diamond Storm is going to take out the Torracat then. Klefki does resist it in foul play. He's going to take out the Crobat. Klefki now with 6 kills in this match so far. Who needs anything else? Who needs the Lugia when you've got the set of keys? Tech obviously putting out there from the Artillery Diamond Storm gets very good damage away, and Tech going to block that Volt Switch. Foul play getting a little bit of good damage away there to the DMC. Artillery gets a speed boost now. A skull is going to get the burn on the Klefki. That could be really huge. Diamond Storm misses both Mons. Then there's the Volt Switch into the Artillery. Just about hanging on. As our income from Raptors, there's the foul play, so that Artillery's in as well. They're troubling him. I'll go for the second move this next time, and he needs to deal with that Raptors before he can. So there comes out, there's this seed bomb onto the DMC. Rest comes out from the Artillery, so it is now going to go to sleep. There's the Diamond Storm to take out the Klefki, so it is now 2v3. It is Maractus and Zerkatry versus the world. Artillery stays asleep. There's the protector from the DMC seed bomb's going to get bought by protector. There is the Volt Switch though, and that's going to get the KO this time, and he's going to get the Beast Boost on the Zerkatry. Is now 2v2. It's Cali Shadow. It is that final one on the Zerkatry with respect, because it is going to be faster. Ally Switch comes out from that Mega DMC knockoff, gets blocked from the Raptors. There's the Volt Switch into the Zerkatry. Astro Barrage comes out. That's going to take out the Zerkatry and Raptors. So Silver with a very, very clutch Ally Switch at the end there ends up saving the game. Like, if he doesn't do that, Jabba wins that one. No way he doesn't. So really smart stuff there from Silver. Keeps that winning streak going and moves him to 5-2. Commiserations to Jabba, does move to that 1-6 record. He is still in with a shout of playoffs, but as you'll see at the league table in just a second, does mean, however, that he has got to win all 4 of his remaining 4 fixtures to stand a chance. All the teams ahead of him could start losing, and then it wouldn't so much matter. But just by process of elimination, he is going to face a few of the teams ahead of him in those final few games. So, and a few of those teams ahead of him are playing each other as well. So, just to give himself the best shot, he's got to win all 4. What it does mean though is if Dogsy Shadow Kings win next week and he loses next week, then Jabba is our first team to be relegated to the brand new British Pokemon Championship division. So Aaron, despite losing out to the Ninjas this week, does keep his first position. Silver moves up to 2nd place, just pipping Meme Space City PC to 2nd place. So it is Meme and Silver in 2nd and 3rd place. Crizzle drops though down to 4th place from 2nd and shares that 4-3 record with 5th, 6th and 7th. So Dave moving into the top half of the table now then is Newcastle Thundurus and the Ninjas joining him there in 6th, both on that 4-3 record. Meanwhile, the Goomies drop down to 7th, and of course Dogsy there sitting ever so carefully perched above the relegation zone on the 3-4 record. So some big games coming up in the next couple of weeks to decide this final few playoff spots. Anyway, on to next week's schedule, and we've got a few doozies here. So Draco takes on Space City PC. Draco want to try and get another win under his belt just to keep those playoff aspirations alive. Meanwhile, Meme is going to want to keep that winning streak going, so that will be a very tough fixture for Draco, but could go either way. It is the British Pokemon League. Absolutely anything could happen. Dogsy, meanwhile, takes on Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. Aaron is going to want to bounce back from that first defeat of the season, and Dogsy needs to put that run of 3 league game defeats in a row to bed. So a lot of play for in that one. And Aaron, if he does win that one, does guarantee himself playoffs. So a lot on the line for both coaches. Up next then, though, it is the local derby between myself, Wobbuffet Ninjas, versus Dave's Newcastle Thundurus. Both on a 3-game winning streak, both on 4-3. If we get the win here, you know, either one puts themselves in a very good shot of playoffs. The other one, the loser, ends up dragged back into the relegation battle. So again, a lot on the line with that one. Up next, it is South Croydon Saurs versus California Bastions. Omer can take a lot from this week, obviously getting the win over Dogsy Shadow Kings. Puts himself right in the conversation for playoffs again. Meanwhile, Crizzle is almost half dragged into that relegation battle and is going to want to get himself back to winning ways after that 2-loss streak. Then we have the Long Island Goomys versus Tyrant at Tyrants. Obviously, Silly losing out in that absolutely amazing opening match to Meme this week. Is he going to be able to stop that stall team though? We've seen Jabba came very close and might have put a dent in that armour of Silver's, so could be a really close that one. And then rounding out the week, it is a relegation 6-point, and as I said earlier, if Jabba loses this one versus Niels and Dogsy is able to get the win over Aaron's Inglorious Surfers, Jabba is out of playoffs and is our first team to be relegated. And Niels is going to want to win this one. Has lost his last 2 games and is right in that relegation dogfight and needs to get himself a win and hope Dogsy loses just to try and claw his way out of there. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this week's show. I hope you've all really enjoyed this one. It's always fun, as always, to commentate over this for you guys. We will, of course, be back next week for week number 8. Not too sure whether we'll be here on the Monday. I am away on vacation at the weekend, so depending on when I get back and how much of the editing and things I get done, we will certainly see. If not, it will be next Tuesday, so I will keep you all updated on that one, so keep an eye on the socials for sure. But I have been your host, Matt Star, PGC. I hope you've all really enjoyed this one. I will see you all next week, twitch.tv/British Pokemon League for more British Pokemon League action. Goodbye and good night. Mwah.